ओम वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। ओम श्री महागणपतये नमः। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। सदाशिवसमारंभां शंकराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। अस्मद्गुरुभ्यो नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम श्री मेधा दक्षिणामूर्ति स्वामिने नमः। ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। ओम भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्ट्वागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्ठनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। नमस्ते once again everyone.
नमस्ते हरि ओम गुरुजी।
नमस्ते गुरुजी।
नमस्ते
नमस्ते
गुरुजी।
नमस्ते
नमस्ते
नमस्ते। So we are seeing mantra number 3 and the discussion on the moolam of which we completed in the last class, and then we entered the bhashyam.
There seems to be an audio issue. I'm not
Is it?
able to hear.
Okay, 1 second, because I'm little away from the modem. So let me just see whether I can open the door of the bedroom so that I get a better signal. 1 second, just hold on. Is it now better?
Yes, yes.
Yes, better Guruji.
Sorry, because I think I was little away from the modem. Okay. So, as I was saying, we entered the, I think we just read the Bhashyam. Now, we did not see the detailed commentary. We did not discuss that, isn't it? So, anyhow, we will again today read the mantra to begin with and also the Bhashyam and then continue with the discussions. Okay. So, all be ready to chant the mantra. Shaunako Havai
शौनको वहै
Mahashalongirasam
महाशालोंगिरसं
Vidivat Upasannah Papracha
विधिवत् उपसन्नः पप्रच्छ
Kasminnu Bhagavo Vignate
तस्मिन् भगवो विद्याते
Sarvamidam Vigyatam Bhavati Iti.
सर्वमिदं विज्ञातं भवति
पातं भवति।
That was mantra. Now we will read the Bhashyam. Shaunakaha
शौनकः
शुनकस्यापत्यम्
शुनकस्यापत्यम्
महाशालः
महाशालः
महागृहस्थः
महागृहस्थः
अंगिरसम्
अंगिरसम्
भारद्वाजशिष्यामाचार्यम्
भारद्वाजशिष्यमाचार्यम्
विधिवत्
विधिवत्
यथाशास्त्रमित्येतत्
यथाशास्त्रमित्येतत्
उपसन्नः
प्रसन्नः
उपगतः सन् पप्रच्छ पृष्टवान् शौनकाङ्गिरसोः सम्बन्ध अर्वाग् विधिवत् विशेषणात् उपसदन विदेहे पूर्वेषाम् अनियम इति गम्यते मर्यादाकरणार्थम् मध्यदीपिका न्यायार्थं वा विशेषणम् अस्मात् आदिषु अपि उपसदन विदेहे इष्टत्वात्. So, as we were discussing in the last class, an interesting question or doubt can be raised that the word Vidivat is used in the Upanishad only in the context of. Hello, can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes, Guruji.
So, this Vidivat, this adjective was used only in the context of Shaunaka approaching Angiras. And this adjective was not used in the earlier cases. Because the Upanishad has already talked about this teaching parampara, starting from Brahmaji and being passed on through 4 generations of students who later became teachers. And in none of those cases, this is mentioned. But only when it comes to Shaunaka, it says that he approached Angiras Vidivat. So now the question is, does it mean that in other cases the student did not approach the Acharya Vidivat? Just like that, no, picked up the mobile phone and then saying, Acharya, I am coming, so better teach me. Did that happen? So what is the significance of mentioning it only here? Because we must remember, generally, Upanishad will not state anything without a purpose. Upanishad will not waste words. Maximum Upanishad will take the liberty of the same word, being spelt in a different way, which may not be the grammatical way of saying it. But that license the Vedas have got. The Chandasa Prayoga they can do. But they cannot introduce new words, etc. Or only where it is required, etc. So Upanishad will not contain any unnecessary details. But if there is a word used, then it becomes our responsibility not to ignore it, but try to find out the meaning and the context also. And Bhashyakara says there is a significance of this word. He gives two possible answers. He says that we can see this particular situation in two ways. One is that this rule was not observed by the first five links. Means the first four disciples, Atharva, Angir, Satyavaha, and Angiras, perhaps did not follow this rule. But from Shaunaka downward, it was followed. So this is the first interpretation. Where Bhashyakara will deal with all possibilities, whether it is logical, illogical, and all that. Therefore, Shaunaka becomes the borderline, which he calls here Maryada. Maryada means the borderline, the boundary. And the second interpretation is that Shaunaka is just a representative of all the disciples. So Shaunaka followed, and before that also our four disciples, Atharva, Angir, Satyavaha, Angiras, had also followed. His name is there in between the previous ones and the later ones. So he is like a Madhya Deepika. And this is the crux of the explanation by Bhashyakara. So two possibilities he gives. Whichever possibility you like, you can take, he says. So I think the first paragraph which we read today of the Bhashyam, we have already discussed in the last class. Now the second paragraph we will now discuss. So he says, Shaunakangirasoho Sambandha Arvag. Arvag means after. Sambandha means contact. So Shaunakangirasoho Sambandha Arvag means after the contact between Shaunaka and Angirasa. I think in the text that I circulated, it is written Shonaka, if I am not wrong. If anybody is referring to the text, please check it. It should be Shaunaka. It's a error, it's what they call it, typo. So
Yes,
please correct
yes.
it. And in fact, one or
Shaunaka.
two more places it may be saying at Shonaka. All of them should be Shaunaka. Okay. So here we have to correct. And so after contact between Shaunaka and Angirasa, that is Shaunaka Angirasoho Sambandha Arvag, Vidivat Visheshanat, because of the Visheshana. Here, Visheshana means in the sense of specification. Actually, it is Visheshana is adverb. Here, it is used in the context of adverb. Usually, Visheshana means adjective. Literally, it means adjective. But here, it is in the sense of an adverb. Because upasadana videhe, it's upasadana is a verb, right? So what is the adjective of adverb? Vidivat. So vidivat is the adjective. Vidivat visheshanat means because of the adverb vidivat. And Bhashyakara explains it as upasadana videhe, according to the method of approaching. So after the contact between Shaunaka and Angirasa, according to the method of approaching the teacher by the students, Purvesham aniyamaha. Niyama means compulsory. Aniyamaha means absence of the rule, absence of being compulsory. Purvesham, for the predecessors. Upasadana videhe, that is the method of approaching. Iti thus, iti means thus, gamyate is understood. So what Bhashyakara wants to explain is that since this particular word Vidivat has come after mentioning Shaunaka and Angirasa, that is after the 5th and 6th generation of the Parampara, we can understand that the rule Vidivat Upasannaha was aniyamaha, absent or not compulsory for the earlier four disciples. And therefore, his point is that the positioning of the word Vidivat occurring after introducing Shaunaka and Angirasa is important, from which we can draw this conclusion that this became a niyama and was applicable only from Shaunaka onwards and not before that, not for Purvesham, the predecessors. Because in law also, this kind of a situation we see. Any amendment to the law will have only, it will not have a, what they call pre-facto application. It will be after the date that the law is changed, later on only it will have application. Similarly, maybe after the four generations of Guru Shishya Parampara, probably the Gurus felt that these Shishyas are all just coming on their own, they are not following any rule. So they introduced a particular method, Samit Panihi, and all that, come to the Guru with something which is useful to the Guru. If he is a Grihastha Guru, bring Samit for him to do Homa. Or if he is a Sannyasi Guru, you can bring some fruits and do Namaskara. All that, comes under Vidivat. So one possibility is that this was like, Angiras was the Guru, he introduced this. And that is why Shaunaka approached him in a proper manner. But that is one interpretation we can take. And that is what Bhashyakara means when he says, Maryada Karanartham Visheshanam. As I already told you, Maryada means boundary or limit. The boundary separating those exempted from those not exempted. So before Shaunaka, all others were exempted. Atharva, Angir, Satyavaha, Angiras. They were exempted. Shaunaka becomes the Maryada of exemption. So he is excluded from the exemption to follow this particular rule. He becomes the boundary case. The line of actual control, as they call LAC. That the first four were exempted. And from Shaunaka onward, the Vidhi is to be followed. Therefore, Maryada Karanartham Visheshanam means making Shaunaka as the borderline. This adverb Vidivat is given after introducing Shaunaka and Angiras. Here the word Karana means making. Word Karana has got other meanings also as an instrument, etc. We say Antak Karana, inner instrument. So Karana here means making, to do. Artham means for conveying the idea. So Karanartham means for conveying the idea, you can take. So the exemption from the rule of Vidivat stopped before Shaunaka, and from Shaunaka onwards, this Vidhi is to be followed. This is the first interpretation. But Bhashyakara must have thought that it is not easy for the students to digest it that easily. They'll say Bhashyakara is just saying something where he himself doesn't know. That's why he is giving this kind of an interpretation. So he thinks of another possibility, and which is a more reasonable possibility. Because we see this kind of a possibility everywhere in the Shastra. So the other possibility is that this Vidivat Upasannaha rule has been there in the Shastra from the beginning. So to say that the first four were exempted and from Shaunaka onwards only this rule was applicable might not be very convincing. Therefore, he gives a second interpretation based on Nyaya. Nyaya means reasoning. So he says, Madhya Deepika Nyayartam Va. So what he means is this adverb Vidivat is given in this shloka based upon Madhya Deepika Nyaya. And I think I explained what is Madhya Deepika Nyaya in the last class. While seeing the mantra, I did mention about this. Madhya Deepika means a lamp kept between two adjacent rooms in such a way that the light of the lamp will fall in both the rooms. It is also known as Dehali Deepa Nyaya. In fact, in Panchadashi, Dehali Deepa Nyaya is the term used, if I am not wrong. Yes. I'm confused between Panchadashi and Chandogya. No, I think in Panchadashi, Dehali Deepa Nyaya is used. So Dehali means doorstep. So like a lamp kept in the doorstep in between two adjacent rooms will lighten up both the rooms. Similarly, Shaunaka is mentioned here as the one who followed the rules to indicate that the earlier ones also had followed the rule, and the word Vidivat is placed in between. And that implies that his predecessors had also followed, though not specifically mentioned in the mantra. And also that his successors are also going to follow. So therefore, in the second interpretation, it's an all-including interpretation. The first four disciples had also followed. And the later ones are also going to follow. So Shaunaka comes the borderline, the what they call the doorstep between two sections, before Shaunaka and after Shaunaka. Like, we have got this BC and AD. Before Shaunaka also they followed, after Shaunaka also they followed. So Shaunaka becomes the Dehali Deepa or Madhya Deepika. Therefore, in the second interpretation, no exemption is given. First interpretation, exemption is given, but exemption is given to first four only. And in the second interpretation, there is no exemption given. Everybody had followed Vidivat Upasannaha. And therefore, finally, it is implied that since all the disciples who are studying Shastra or who would like to study the Shastra have to follow the method of approaching the teacher, this Vidivat Upasannaha is said in this mantra. And this is the speciality of Bhashyakara. He doesn't take anything for granted. If he feels that there could be, and there will be, in fact, the Bhashyakara's students are not like us, very smart students who will think of all such issues in the Upanishad mantra and they will question Bhashyakara. How can you only take, like we have been seeing, some of these Purva Pakshis, they will question, how can you take this interpretation? There is another possibility. So Bhashyakara will, to the maximum extent possible, what he will say, he will know that such questions could be raised and he will address it in the Bhashyam itself. That is why Bhashyakara is Bhashyakara. And that shows how much asta he has got. So much value for the words of the Shruti. Each and every word is so valuable in the Vedas. And according to him, every word, because Vedas have come from Bhagavan, Ishvara. And Ishvara is Sarvagya, all knowing. So he will not waste any words. Normally, what people do, it's a habit of many people, if they, I also sometimes get caught in that. If you are, there is a loss of words to explain a particular thing, then they will actually skip that. They will say, I will tell you later. Later will never come. But according to Bhashyakara, every word in the Shruti must be having some significance, and therefore every word deserves to be analyzed thoroughly. So that in the class also, after teaching, the doubts are very minimal. Students go away satisfied that every word I have understood. That is his speciality, rather. And in the next sentence, he says, from both these interpretations, the message to be derived by us is what? Maryada Karanartham. Sorry, Asmadishu api upasadana videhe ishtatvad. The message is ishtatvat. Ishta means intended. Ishtatvat means because it is intended. What is intended? The upasadana vidhi. Method of approaching the teacher is ishta, is intended or desired to be followed by Shruti with reference to Asmad Adishu Api, with regard to us also. Asmat means I or we. Adishu means etc. So Asmat Adishu means I or we and others. Api means also. So here api can be used in both ways. Api means applying to us, or api is said even for us, mean the earlier ones also had to be done. So both ways it is ishta. Asmat adishu api means all of us and the earlier ones also, while approaching the teacher, have to follow a certain proper protocol. So even with reference to both the prescribed method of approaching the teacher is intended to be conveyed. So, Maryada Karanartham Madhya Deepika Nyayartham is that the Upasadana Vidhi should be desired or followed by all of us disciples. And these are all incidental notes by Bhagavan Bhashyakara. He is interpreting. This is what is the intention of the Upanishad. Now, the main question of Shaunaka we will come to. Kasminnu Bhagavo Vijñate Sarvamidam Vijñatam Bhavati Iti. Kasminnu Bhagavo Vijñate. That idea, Bhagavan Bhashyakara is going to comment upon. We will read the Bhashyam paragraph and then discuss each sentence. Okay. So ready for reading. Kimityaha
किमित्याह
Kasminnu Bhagavo Vijñate
कस्मिन् भगवो विद्याते
विद्याते
Nu iti vitarke
Nu iti
tarke
तर्के
Bhagavo he Bhagavan
भगवो हे भगवन्
Sarvam Yat Idam
Sarvam
सर्वं यद्
यद्
Vigyayam Vijñatam
Vijneyam
ज्ञेयं
Vijnatam
ज्ञातं
Visheshena Jnanam Avagatam
Visheshena
ज्ञानमवगतम्
Bhavati iti
Bhavati iti
इति
Ekasmin Jnate
Ekasmin
एकस्मिन्
Jnate
ज्ञाते
Sarvavid Bhavati iti
Sarvavid
सर्वविद् भवति
भवति
इति
इति
Shishta Pravadam Srutavan
शिष्टप्रवादं
प्रदादं कृतवान्
Shaunakaha.
नकः
Here also it is written as Shaunakaha. Correct it to Shaunaka. Tad Vishesham
तद्विशेषं
Vijñatu Kamaha San
Kamah, son.
Kasmin viti vitarkayan papracha.
Kasmin
Kasmin viti.
Apachayada.
Kasmin viti
Asmin Vidhi.
vitarkayan papracha.
Tarkayan Papracha.
Athava lokasamanya drishtya.
Athava Lokasamanya Drishtya.
Jnatvaiva papracha.
Jnatvaiva Papracha.
Santi loke suvarnadi shakala bhedah.
Santi loke suvarnadi shakala
Santi Loke Sakala Vedah.
Suvarnatvadyekatva vijnanena.
Suvarnatvat.
Suvarnatvadyekatva
Suvarnatvat Ekatva Vijnanena.
vijnanena
Vijnanena
vijnayamana lokikaihi
Vijnanamaya Lokikaihi.
tata kim nwasti
Tada Kim Nasti.
nwasti nwasti all very difficult words in Sanskrit. Sarvasya
Sarvasya.
jagat bhedasya ekakaranam yadekasmin vijñāte sarvam vijñātam bhavati iti.
Sarvam Vijnatam Bhavati.
Good. Long paragraph. But then paragraph Bhashyakara writes means it will be long only. So anyhow, he has to explain everything in detail, right? So now you can all mute yourself. So kim iti aha. Kim means what? And it should be connected to papracha in the first line of the mantra. There it was said that Shaunaka duly approached Angiras and asked. So here Bhashyakara starts the commentary with Kim. Kim means what did he ask? Iti aha means this is the answer which the Shruti gives. That is, Shruti reveals the question which was asked by Shaunaka to Angiras. Iti aha. Kim, if it asks Shruti, Shruti will say iti aha. This is what Shaunaka asked. And what is the sentence? Kasminnu bhagavo vijñāte. So, to begin with, Bhashyakara is taking only one part of the sentence to explain. Kasmin, which nu iti vitarke, he says, implying this assumption or reflection. Nu means assumption or reflection. Bhagavaha means Bhagavan, he says, O Lord. Vijñāte, known. So the translation of this first part of the question will be, O Lord, what is that on knowing which? Now the sentence is obviously incomplete because he has only taken one part, right? Because here Bhashyakara wants to explain certain ideas. And therefore he leaves the sentence incomplete. But for our understanding, we can complete. What is that? We saw it in the while discussing the mantra itself. What is that knowing which everything is as well known? So as I said, Nu has got the idea of assumption or conjecture. So here, a person has some idea about something like this being there, and he wants to know what is that. So that particular situation of Shaunaka is indicated by that word nu, where he has some assumption And based on that assumption, he is asking the question. Nu iti vitarke. And this word nu, is very difficult to translate because there is no equivalent in English language. It just indicates a frame of mind in which a person knows that something like that is there and wants to know what it is. So, nu iti means nu. The word nu. Nu should be understood in the sense of vitarka. Vitarka means assumption, some reflection, some supposition. Vitarka has also got meaning of doubt. So if we can say he has a doubt, he has heard something, that there is something in this universe, knowing which everything else is as well known. Now his doubt is, what is that something? So given in this context, we can translate nu as reflection, supposition, conjecture, some assumption. But Bhashyakara is going to explain what is the frame of mind of Shaunaka when he is asking this question. He will explain that. Bhagavaha is equal to He Bhagavan. Sambodhana of Bhagavat Shabda, used to address a person, respectively rather. Actually, as per grammar, it should be He Bhagavan. But here, Bhagavaha is Vedic usage, Chandasa Prayoga. As I told you, they can change the word, but they cannot introduce a new word. Having this Bhagavaha is as the sense of Hey Bhagavan. So Bhagavaha is addressing the teacher respectfully. Now, having given these details regarding Nu and Bhagavaha, Bhashyakara explains the main sentence, which is the question. Sarvam idam vigyeyam vigyatam viseshena jnatam avagatam bhavati iti. Sarvam means everything. Yat idam vigyeyam, which is to be known. Vigyeyam means to be known. So everything which is to be known, it means all the objects we are experiencing. This table, this chair, this laptop, this water bottle, everything. All things which are available for objectification. So all the objects in the universe. Sarva Vigyeyam. The entire Drishya Prapancha. Everything which is available for knowing, objectifying. All these which are to be known, Vigyatam. Vigyatam means Viseshena Gyat. Viseshena means very well. Jnatam is known. And Bhashyakara says Jnatam means Avagatam. Another word for Jnatam, to know. Jnatam and Avagatam both have got the same meaning. Okay. That is known. So Vigyatam is broken into two parts, V and Jnatam. V stands for Visheshena, means very well. Jnatam is known. So knowing which everything is very well known, very well understood, which means essentially understood. The reality of everything is understood by knowing this Mula Karanam, by knowing this fundamental cause of everything. The whole world, which is the effect, is known. So Visheshena Jnatam means the essential nature is known. Bhavati becomes, iti, thus. So we have to connect iti with papracha. So iti papracha is indicating this is a quotation within inverted commas. So iti papracha means thus asked. So The whole translation will be Shaunaka asked thus. And what did he ask? What is that knowing which everything that which is to be known is very well known, essentially known. And as I said earlier, everything means everything which is available for knowing. In fact, even if you just take the scriptures, most of us do not know how many disciplines of knowledge are there available in the Shastra, isn't it? In fact, they talk about 64 Vidyas, and there is a list. It is called Chatushashti Vidya. And we do not know if anybody is there who knows all the 64 Vidyas. As such, it is impossible for even, it is very difficult for even to know one Vidya. Just to take Sanskrit grammar itself. Those people who have tried their hand on Paninian grammar will understand that. And we are talking about 64 Vidyas. And therefore, what is important that we know the essence. If the essence of everything is the same, if the essence of the 64 Vidyas is the same, and we know that essence, that means all 64 Vidyas are as well known. You may not know the details of those Vidyas, but the essence of all the Vidyas we will know if we know the essence of one Vidya. And that is illustrated in our scriptures through a beautiful story of Shiva, Parvati, Ganesha, and Kartikeya. Many of you may know the story, but perhaps not realize the message of the story. For those who don't know or not heard, the story goes like this. Shiva and Parvati had one fruit which could be given, it cannot be cut, it has to be given in whole, either to Ganesha or Kartikeya, their children, their sons. But then how to decide whom to give? So if we give to Ganesha, Kartikeya will say you are being partial. Any parent having two children will know, 2 or 3 children, they will say you are partial to the other child. Similarly, Shiva Parvati also faced that dilemma. But they were very intelligent. Well, today's days, what we will do, we will cut it into two and give half to both the children. But then again, there will be a problem. One child will say the other one has got a bigger half and you gave me a smaller half because you don't like me. These are all very, very standard things which happen in homes, isn't it? So Shiva Parvati, they decided to hold a competition. And very tough competition. They called both of them and said that here is a fruit which is a very, very divine fruit, and it can be given only to one of you. So we are going to decide whom to give based upon one competition. And what is the competition? Whoever does the pradakshina of the entire world, the entire universe, and come back first, that person will get the fruit. Hearing this, Kartikeya, Lord Muruga, immediately got onto his vehicle of peacock, Mailvahana, and peacock can fly. So he flew off high speed, like a jet rocket or whatever you can call. And he thought, I will definitely win because Ganesha firstly is pot-bellied, fat fellow. And he cannot move fast on his own. And his vehicle is also a rat, which carrying Ganesha may even not go even a few feet. So Ganesha can never ever, do the pradakshina of the entire universe, and I am certainly going to win this fruit. Thinking thus, he went away, set off to do pradakshina of the world, and returned after probably a few months. And when he returned, he saw Ganesha was already eating the fruit. He got furious. And as the story goes, he went away to some mountain and gave up everything. Parani Malai, in India, it's a very famous mountain. That's where he went and sat there and did penance. So what he did not know was that when the competition was announced, Ganesha requested his father and mother to sit, and he did the pradakshina to them not once but 3 times. He said, and he said, "My pradakshina of the universe is done. Give me the fruit because I have won the prize." And Shiva questioned him as to how he can claim that he has done the pradakshina of the world. Then Ganesha said, Annapurne Sadapurne Shankara Prana Vallabhe Jnana Vairagya Siddhyartam Bhikshan Dehi Cha Parvati Mata Cha Parvati Devi Pita Devo Maheshwara Bandava Shiva Bhaktascha Swadesho Bhuvanatrayam. You two represent to me not only one world but 3 worlds. Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, and Suvaha. You two represent 3 worlds to me, and I have done 3 pradakshinas of the 3 worlds. Now, how can you have any objection that to declare me as a winner? And then another sloka he says, Vagarta viva sampruktau Vagarta pratipattaye Jagatah pitarau vande Parvati parameshwarau. So he said, you two are Jagatah pitarau, you two are Jagat Karanam. And in Karanam, the Jagat is the Karyam. So you are Jagat Karanam, Jagat is the Karyam, you are the cause, Jagat is the product. And in Karyam, everything is included. So in Karanam, everything is included. And therefore, the whole world is included in both of you. And therefore, I have done pradakshina not once but 3 times. And therefore, I should be declared the winner. Very strong case he presented. So his case was accepted and he was given the fruit. So the idea is that this yasmin vijnate sarvamidam vijnatam bhavati, Ganesha knew it very well. And he also knew that you cannot go about this in a roundabout way. So he went straight to the crux of the matter, essence of the world, and won the prize. And in life also, this should be our approach, that we go to the crux of the matter and don't get lost in details. Whatever detail is necessary has to be understood, but never ever lose sight of the central theme, the truth of the matter, the crux of the matter. No, like the child always does when it is insecure. What does it do? It is always holding the hands of the mother in and through whatever he does. It knows that by holding the hand of the mother, he or she will always remain connected with the center, which is the mother. So what is important, that one should know the essential details, but never lose sight of the essence, the truth. And therefore, Shaunaka is, through his question, Yasmin Vijnate Sarvamidam Vijnatam Bhavati, is wanting to know the essence of everything. So after describing the words used by Shaunaka while asking the question, now Bhashyakara is showing the basis for the question. What is the seed? Or in Sanskrit, it's called Prashna Bijam for this question. Because whenever a person asks any question, it will have some background. And that is why it is said that person, when he asks any question, we have to look into the background of the question, from where this question is coming. What is the background of this person? Same question asked by a child, same question asked by an adult, we cannot give the same answer. So, to understand the background is very important while answering appropriately. And especially when it comes to Vedanta or Shastra, we have to know whether the questioner has got logical basis or scriptural basis or some emotional basis. So, depending upon the basis of the question, we have to answer the question. And that is why it is said, we don't answer the question, we answer the questioner. So while answering, we have to consider the questioner, the person. Then only our answer will be appropriate. And that is why, suppose some question is asked by a student who has studied Vedanta for some time, the answer will be different than if suppose the same question is asked by a new entrant to Vedanta, because of the difference in background. And therefore, what is the basis for Shaunaka's question? How did this question arise in Shaunaka's mind? That is being discussed by Bhashyakara. And he discusses two bases for Shaunaka's question. And Shaunaka's question might have come from either of these two bases. The first basis is Shastra basis. The second is reasoning basis. Shabda Bijam or Anumanika Bijam. So the first Bijam, the Shastra basis is called Shabda Bijam, based upon the words of elders, the people who are learned in Shastra. And the second is a general observation, based upon Anumanam or inference. So these are the two bases which Bhashyakara discusses. So the first basis, that is the Shastra basis, he gives in the next line of this paragraph. But before going into the Bhashyam, we have to understand certain ideas regarding how the knowledge of a particular thing takes place. This process takes place in two stages. One is called Samanya Jnanam, other is called Vishesha Jnanam. Samanya Jnanam will become the basis for inquiry into the Vishesha Jnanam, and then appropriate means will be used and one will get Vishesha Jnanam. I'll give you an example. Example of Samanya Jnanam. Suppose I say there is something called Vedanta. This is a very general, non-specific knowledge. So, to the listener, this sentence will give the knowledge of existence of something called Vedanta. This is Samanya Jnanam. And when the person has got Samanya Jnanam, then only there will be a desire, an inquisitiveness, a curiosity to know something more about it. That forms the basis for further inquiry. Then, using the appropriate means of knowledge, the person knows some details about that thing, and that knowledge is called Vishesha Jnanam, specific knowledge, detailed knowledge. For example, after I say there is something called Vedanta, and I say Vedanta means the end portion of Veda, and it is a pramanam regarding Apaurusheya Vishaya. All these are all Vishesha Jnanam. So generally, the question regarding the specific details will be there only when a person has got Samanya Jnanam. So without Samanya Jnanam, the question of Vishesha Jnanam does not arise. Unless you know the existence of something, how will you even imagine that knowing the details? Isn't it? So here the question asked is, Kasminnu Vijñate Sarvamidam Vijñatam Bhavati. What is it that knowing which everything is as well known? Now this question is it a Samanya Prashna or Vishesha Prashna? Is it a general question or a special question or a specific question? It is a Vishesha Prashna. Even though it looks like Samanya Prashna, it is a Vishesha Prashna. Because Shaunaka seems to have that jnanam, that there is something knowing which everything is as well known. So there must have been Samanya Jnanam. Because if something is known to be existing, then only we will ask what is it that knowing which everything is as well known. Suppose I know that you have a brother or a sister. Then only I will ask you what is your brother's name or what is your sister's name. Without knowing whether you have a brother or sister, will I ask you what is your brother's name or sister's name? And another example is there, and which is a very, very practical example. Unless I know you have a spouse, I cannot ask how your spouse is doing. Suppose the person is unmarried or he is separated from his spouse. My question will be inappropriate. Therefore, I must know that you are married and that your spouse is living with you. Then only I can ask how your spouse is doing. Because suppose the spouse is living somewhere else and this person is living somewhere else. And I ask, how is your spouse doing? He says, how do I know? He or she is living somewhere else, miles away. So these are all very sensitive issues these days. One has to be very, very careful. Similarly, a married couple, very careful asking whether they have children. Very diplomatically you have to ask, or leave it to them to tell you if they have children, if they have no children, if they have children, what the children are doing, etc. So Puja Swamiji says, whenever you meet a person, the safest thing is to talk about weather and ask, will you have coffee or tea? One has to be very careful asking personal questions because people can get offended by such questions. Anyway, all these are all nothing to do with Vedanta. But then, even in general, in Laukika, our transactions, the same logic applies. Unless we know something is existing, we cannot ask any specific question about that. So unless you have Samanya Jnanam, you cannot ask a Vishesha Prashna. So Shaunaka has asked a Vishesha Prashna, a question regarding the details, specific feature of a thing, knowing which everything is as well known. And since he has asked the Vishesha Prashna, he must have Samanya Jnanam, general knowledge, some idea that there is such a thing in existence. Now, the next question is, how did he get this Samanya Jnana? And that is what Bhashyakara is discussing in this sentence. And we will continue the discussion next class. He says, Ekasmin Jnate Sarvavid Bhavati iti Shishta Pravadam Shutavan Shaunakah. We will see the explanation in the next class. Okay, it's time. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Dhanyavadaha everyone. Thank you.
very much, Guruji.
Thank you, Guruji. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you, Guruji.
Hari Om.
Thank you very much, Guruji. Namaskaram.
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 Thank you, Guruji.
Hari Om. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Guruji. Hari Om.
Hari
I
Om.
missed the last class. I need to go back and listen to that once or twice and again to this class. But I will do that. And thank you very much, Guruji.
Okay, Hari Om. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Any question? Anybody has got the same question which Shaunaka has? Of course, we are discussing. We will know the answer also after we read the Upanishad, study the Upanishad. So if there are no questions, then we will close the class, continue next week. Okay. Fine. Okay, Hari Om. Thank you all.
Hari Om. Thank you very much, Guruji. Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Thank you.
Hari Om, Guruji.
Hari Om. Thank you.